Hi, we're Group 5, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between nested subqueries and correlated subqueries. So in order to do that, we first need to define what a subquery is. So a subquery is an SQL query that is nested inside a larger query. It may occur in select, from, or where clauses. It can be nested inside of a select, insert, update, delete, set, do, or inside of another subquery.
A subquery is also called an inner query or inner select. This is the basic structure of a subquery. This is the outer query or the statement, and this is the inner query or inner select. The inner query executes first, so the result can be passed to the outer query or the parent query.
Okay, so now I'm going to explain what a nested subquery is. So a nested subquery is just a normal subquery, but inside the inner query, there is another inner query. An SQL executes the innermost subquery first, then the next, and so on. So now we're going to go over some examples.
Let's take a look at an example of a nested subquery. This subquery is used to determine the order IDs and line IDs of those orders shipped on the same day when any item in the fees department is ordered. Now here's the big nested subquery. This is broken up into two inner queries. This is the innermost subquery. It'd be executed first, and this is the next innermost subquery. Lastly, the outer subquery, this section, would be executed last.
Okay, so let's talk about correlated subqueries. A correlated subquery is a subquery that contains a reference to a table that also appears in the outer query. A correlated subquery references and relates to one or more columns in the outer SQL statement. Here's the structure of a correlated subquery. Unlike a nested subquery that is self-contained only in the inner query, a correlated subquery contains a reference to the outer query inside of the inner query. Here is the outer query, and as you can see, there is a reference to table 1 in the outer query. Now here is the inner query. Now in the inner query, we can see that same reference used. That is the main difference between a nested and correlated subquery. Let's take an example of a correlated subquery.
Now let's take a look at an example of a correlated subquery. In this example, there's two tables, employees table and a job history table. And I'm trying to find employees who have changed jobs at least once. Now to do this, we have to use the following statement. This is the outer query. Select the first name, last name, employee ID, job ID from employees E. E is a reference name to this table and is used inside of the inner query here. So select count from job history where employee ID is the same in the reference table E.